Welcome to RetireCoast series, Starting a Business After Retirement. We're going to cover in our series, which is on our blog site at RetireCoast.com, everything you need to know about how to start a business after retirement. This video is one of the videos that we'll be using to help you understand part of the process. This one covers part of the budget and the chart of accounts that's included in the budget. Well, thanks for coming to RetireCoast.com's YouTube video. We're going to talk about the Wave accounting system. Now, this is just one of many accounting systems that will be available to you. And if you're going to start your business after retirement, it's important that you pick an accounting system that you can work with, that's easy, and that you understand how it works. Now, this may sound complicated for a lot of people. Oh, accounting, they're a specialist for that, which is true. But the actual act of doing this is not much different than actually the old style managing your bank book or your checkbook, for example, where you write in the checks that you wrote and write in the deposits, and then when you get a chance once a month or so, you do some balancing. This is basically the same thing. Well, you enter it in, and it's just a really fancy type of spreadsheet for those of you that work with spreadsheets. And even if you haven't worked with spreadsheets, I'm going to make this pretty simple for you. So if you look right up here on the top of the screen, it says Get Started for Free. And this is a free web-based system. Which makes it easy for you to get started on this. And software, you can lease it as well. But this will get you a good start. But you could transfer the information from here over to one of those other programs. So the purpose here is not for me to sell this to you, because I don't get paid to talk about this. It's just an easy way for me to show you how you can work with the chart of accounts and some of the actual kind of guts, if you will, of accounting. So I already have an account here, and I'm going to sign into one of my accounts. So basically, you just go here and just fill out the information they're asking for you. They want to know who you are, and then you go ahead and fill that out. So I'm going to go into the sign in right now. So you can see what we did is we just started to create a new business, and that new business I just called Testing Company. And we're going to look for the type of business, and I'm going to put financial services just to make it simple. And then I'm going to go other financial services here, country, United States. This is just for them to take a look at. And then type of organization I'm going to put down. It's a partnership, which is an LLC, by the way. In most cases, you can have a single LLC, but most people have partnerships. So select either one of those, depending on what you have. And again, it's more for their use, but they will give you maybe a slightly different chart of accounts. So we're going to select a plan here, and we're not going to want to pay, so we're going to go through. And they offer some services that you might be interested in. If you have employees, most of you will not, at least to begin with. And, this Pro plan, the difference basically between the Zero Starter plan and the Pro plan is they allow you to automatically download the data from your accounting, from your bank. And the 01, you have to do it manually. So we're going to Okay, we're at the dashboard. I cut out a lot of things you don't need. You'll notice that when you go through. If you'd like to take a look at another video, I'll put a link in here to one that shows you how to actually start up and go through the process. What I'm trying to do is get to the meat of this. There is a lot of videos that show you all kinds of different things you may never use. Now, I have a number of companies here. I create an LLC for different properties that I own, so I have quite a few of them. And I don't use a lot of these things. I don't have any employees, and so the payroll is not relevant. So let's take a look at the left side here. The dashboard's not that important right now. Later on, when you have something in there, it will be. And I want to start with the accounting. Okay, that's where you really start here. And you start with the chart of accounts. That's what we talked about a little bit in the blog article. Now, this is your chart of accounts. Basically, it is the listing of the things that you're going to either, bring in for cash coming in or cash coming out. Cash checks, for example, So we're going to talk about cash on hand. They put some things in here. There are major categories here. Money in transit, you may not use that, depends on your type of business. Expected payments from customers, inventory, plant equipment. Most people aren't going to use these things. For assets. Now, if you have a property that you're renting out, then you're going to have a long-term asset here. That's where you put that. Again, my point here is not to actually show you so much how to use this, just explain what it is so that you understand it. So basically, if you have something that you need to put in here, you want to depreciate some equipment or a building, you add a new account in there. You give it a name. It's pretty simple to do that. Let's just put one in there, for example. Okay, so account, it's depreciation or amortization name, and what we're going to do is put down building here. Really simple. Okay, that's it. Building. Now there's building. It shows up right under here. You can go in and edit it later on. Then we have over here, we've got liabilities and credit cards. And that's where you go. I don't put the credit cards in there. You can if you want to. It depends on how detailed you want to get. Loan, line of credit, you can put that in there if you want to. Sales taxes, I usually don't put those in. There's no payroll due to you or other business owners. So basically, in the liabilities column, if you have a mortgage, you want to put the long-term liability here put the mortgage in here. That's a liability. Any other amounts that you owe, if you want to put those in there. It depends on whether you want to do an accrual or a cash basis. Now, this system is automatically set up as an accrual basis, and I'll tell you what that means. That means that when you go over here to sales, for example, and you go to invoices and you want to create a new invoice, once you send that invoice out, that is an accrual basis, and it will show as actual income even though it hasn't arrived yet. So the difference between the accrual and the cash is the cash is here already, and you only account for cash when it arrives. You get a check from someone, that's when you account for it. You don't account for it when you request that check, and that's essentially what an invoice does. An invoice says, Mr. Jones, you owe us some money, and you're going to have to pay us within 30 days. So that is an accrual. Once that's in the system, it shows money that's owed or income, even though you haven't received it yet. Now, for the vast majority of you, I think life is easier if you stay on the cash basis. So you might want to use the invoice system that's in here, but you use it just to send the invoice out and get the money back in, but not necessarily because you want to keep track of your money in a non-cash manner. So I always use it for basically the cash basis, which means if I earned $1 January 1st and I earned $1 on December 31st, I will have earned $2 that year because I have the money in my hand. It came into the checking account, and that's the basis of this. So you want to put down assets and liabilities. They deal with things over a longer period of time, such as the property that you own. You can depreciate that property, and if you don't understand that, then you need to talk to your CPA about that information. So let's go over to the income. And this is really where things get busy, between here and the expenses. So on the income side, we have sales, just plain old sales. You don't need to ever use that. We have services, plain service, don't have to use that. This is where you may decide that you have several different kinds of income streams. Let's say, for example, that you are going to do some financial consulting and that you also offer some other options in that financial consulting. Now, the actual financial consulting, they may be paying you by the hour, in which case you're going to be paid after the visit or maybe once a month. Doesn't make any difference whenever that comes in. So you're going to put down just plain consulting. That'll be on one line, add a new account. And then you might have something where it's reoccurring. You're selling them a product that you have, for example. and then that may be a different thing. So you might have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different kinds of income, and you might want to put those down. Now, if you have a lawn care business, for example, so you'll have mowing the lawns, and that's all they're paying you for, that's what you put down for one of your services. If you have another service, such as cutting down trees, then you put that down as a tree service. So if you want to keep track of the income from various sources, you will go ahead and you will enter something new in here. And they're all simple, just like this. Basically, here's the name. If you want to put an ID number on there, you can. You can also put a description, but usually the name satisfies the description. So let's go down to discount. You may never use this. And other income, some people have other income. You receive something from somebody. They paid you for just being a nice person. That's not silly, but that's other income. I don't like to use other income because it's not identified. Kind of gets back to this new Doge thing where they can't track down what happened to all the money. This is what happens when you throw it all into a bucket like this. Uncategorized income. If you don't categorize the income, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, it's going to show uncategorized income. That just a flag to you that you've got to tell the system where the money came from. And then gains on foreign exchange, you probably never use that either. So basically, you're going to use this right here, and you're going to make sure you never have any of these after you get a chance to get in and recategorize everything. And then we're going to go over to expenses. Now, this is the busiest part of the whole chart of accounts. These are all the things you're going to spend money on. See, they already have a lot of things in here. They have accounting fees, advertising, bank charges, business licenses, computer hardware, hosting software, many things you can use that are already here that you don't need to set up new ones. And the point is, don't set up new ones if you don't need to. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a zillion of these things, and it will lose its importance as you break them down into, for example, not many people have both a landline and wireless. If you do, fine. If you don't, just use wireless, for example, just to reduce the number of them. Then you've got professional fees, rent expense, printing and reproduction. But you may want to put some of your own in here. For example, if you are buying fertilizer for your lawn business, you might want to put down, lawn supplies. If you are buying computer hardware or something, there is a place for this right here, hardware, so you wouldn't need to put that in there. But if you're buying some types of supplies that you need for your business, those will be expenses, and you want to put those in here. Now, you could do that under the cost of goods sold. If you understand this well enough, and if you look at a couple of videos, you might be able to use that. Payment processing fees. Sometimes there are processing fees for credit cards you might want to put in here. Payroll expense. If you have payroll, you probably don't. And then uncategorized expense, just like the uncategorized income. Anything that isn't been flagged yet is just going to fall into this bucket right here. And then loss on foreign exchange. And then equity, this is where the money that you put in to your business to start, let's say that you deposit $10,000 into your checking account. And that is the money you want to use to buy your initial supplies. Let's say you're in the landscaping business. And you already have a lawnmower, but you need to buy an edger, and you need to buy some lawn supplies, weed killer, that kind of thing. So what you would do is you put the $10,000 in, and it goes in either, really, it goes right here, basically owner's investment. And that's what you'll code this when it goes into the system. So let me then show you how all of this displays for you to be able to see. And then we're going to go over here to accounting. And there won't be any in here, but we'll go to transactions. This is where you're going to be busy all the time. See, the chart of accounts, once you get them set up, they're pretty much going to be the same. You won't be going back in there. You won't be going to hire a bookkeeper or even reconciliation very often. You'll go into, before I get into transactions, let me go down to banking a little bit. So you have connected accounts here only if you're paying them a monthly fee. Otherwise, you're not. And you can go ahead and put those in another place, and I'll show you where that is in a moment. Payouts, insurance, you probably won't use that. Probably won't use payroll. Reports you will use. I will show you that too, except there's nothing in there right now. So let's take a look at the, actually let's go back to accounting for just a moment, and we want to go to the chart of accounts. Something I'd forgotten under assets, basically. So you want to open a bank account here. This is where you put in your bank name. This is under the assets. Typically, that's what's going to hold. This is cash, okay? So you're going to put in here, and you're going to, you're going to put a bank account in here. And you might have a savings account. You might have a checking account. So you're going to put those into the cash and bank section. That's cash. And then you're going to put in whatever banks that you have for your business right here. And that's where the initial cash is going to go in there, but it'll be credited to your equity account, okay? So we're going to go back over here to transactions, and there won't be much in here. So you can upload a transaction from your bank in CSV format, which is pretty easy to do. That means that, let's say once a month you decide you want to do your accounting, and you will then upload or put into your system, take it out of your bank, put it in your system, all the transactions that happened that month. Now, once you dump those transactions into the accounting system, it shows each transaction in there with the date and the amount of money. The name it's going to show in there probably doesn't make any sense to you. It's something that the bank puts on the account. So what you'll do is, after you've imported them, you have to pay for do an upgrade here. So this is really where you're going to do this right here. So let's go into manual transactions for right now. And so this is a manual transaction. And since we have no other ones in here, we'll take a look at this and say, okay, this is going to be something we're going to do. And we're going to say cash on hand. We're going to put in, let's say, right here, we're going to put in 10,000. 10,000. That's right. And then we're going to put in here all the way down to owner's investment right there. Okay? You're going to write a description. Initial equity. Okay? Or something else. Now you can put notes in here, and you can, this is my first deposit. Okay, if you want to put a receipt in here, you can drag it over here, but you wouldn't have one necessarily for here. This deposit is not that important to have put a receipt in here. I only do it for some things that I buy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save this. Okay? Now, this is our transactions, and normally it should be full. It'd be all the way down the line with checks coming in, checks going out. So let's add a transaction, and I'm going to put in a withdrawal. Okay, so I'm going to put in that right now we don't have a bank account set up, so I'm going to use this just like I'm pulling it out of cash. Okay, so I'm going to put in a description that we had to pay for the gas for the truck. Okay. Now let's look for a category that fits, and if you want to create one that's not here, you can certainly do that. There is probably one, if I recall, a vehicle. There you go. Okay. Now we have done that, and we don't really need to fill out anything else except for the amount of money. So let's say it's $20, and then there's probably no reason to put notes in here. So we're going to then save this transaction, and you will note that we have the $20 in this transaction here. And see, your accounts right here have been reduced by $20. You put in 10,000, been reduced by 20,000. So then let's say that you have, so this is money going out, this is money coming in. And if you wanted to download from your bank, you would go over here and go download transactions. And then the first thing you have to do is go to your bank, and all the banks have the ability online for you to flag a certain period of time, and then to upload those from the bank software. And once those are uploaded, there you go. This happens to be an iMac. I would find them right up here. I'd find different things right up there. And then you would go in here and upload your transaction, and then all the data would dump right in here. So let me show you what you would end up with. This would come from your bank account. And let's say I want to go in here and edit this for a minute. And I'm going to show you what it would look like when it comes from your bank account. It will just be something that'll be under description. It's something the bank puts in here, okay, which doesn't mean anything to you at all. And this one is going to come in under uncategorized. That's the way all of them will come in, just like this. And then you're going to end up with this. So after you've dumped all of the data in here, you're going to have to go through all of these, and you're going to have to flag this. Now, you can change this if you want to. Just put down gas. You don't even have to open this up. And then over here, you're going to then go ahead and you're going to find the fuel right here, vehicle fuel. All right? So that's what you do. You might have 10 or 15 or 20 transactions in there. You usually will know what they are. Sometimes you might have to open up your bank account and take a look. If you've written a check, it'll tell you that it's a check. You'll know the difference. Banks will tell you that. Then you can go look in the bank account. You can see who you wrote the check to, and then you can put it in there, unless you have notes someplace. So basically then we're going to go to reports now, and then we're going to look at the profit and loss statement, and it'll bring up the current period right up here. See? So this is current period, and basically you have a minus $20 profit because you spent $20 but you didn't make any income. So I'm going to go back over here to accounting. I'm going to go to transactions, and I am going to add a deposit in here. So the deposit is going to be lawn work here. And so we're going to look for an income line that says lawn work. Well, we don't have one yet, so I'm going to put in services here, but I might want to create one that says lawn work on it, you know. And then we're going to put in, that's going to be in $300, and we're going to save that. So here's what we have. We have lawn work here. Okay, so let's go back to the reports now. And we have made $280 because we have a gross profit of $300. Now let's take a look at the details here. We have services income of $300, and we have fuel of $200. Do you see how this can work for you every month? Now it says on accrual here base, but let's go to cash basis here. And that's how we run this business. I think you should run on a cash basis unless most of your business is billing people to get money later on. If that's the case, then you might be better off with the accrual basis, because what will happen is you'll go over here and you will create an invoice, your reports in here, because it will show up as income. And then what happens when someone pays you, you go back into the invoices right here, and then you'll do a payment receipt for the invoice. And that'll clear it from your account. In other words, it'll be sitting out there until you clear it from your account. Hopefully this doesn't sound complicated. It actually is fairly easy to do. And I'll put a video in there that someone else has done that's a good one that takes you through all of the steps here, depending on the type of business that you have. Again, if you have a cash business, a lot of this over here with the invoice and everything, they're not going to be important. Now, if you want to accept credit cards, that's important because this system allows you to take credit cards. And a couple of my businesses, we do take credit cards through this Wave accounting system here using a system called Stripe. That's what Wave uses. So basically, you go in here and you can set this up in here and to accept credit cards. You go into, there's another whole thing to do, which I'll get to in another article, setting that up, but it's pretty simple. And then what happens is when that invoice that you have here, you send that out, right at the bottom, it gives the people the opportunity to click on it and pay with a credit card. And then you get your money in about 3 days or 4 days, which is a pretty good deal. And we do that quite a bit. So it's pretty flexible that way. You don't need to go out and work with the bank and get some extra thing going on here. The balance sheet is another report. And the balance sheet shows that you have a total, here, let's take a look at the details here. You have a total of $2,280 cash on hand. That is the $10,000 you put in, the $300 you earned, less the $20 that you spent on gas. Here is your initial deposit here of $10,000, and then your total equity right now is $10,280. And that equity changes here because it depends on how much you spend of that equity. But over time, you'll be putting money into the business, and this is what I'm trying to get at right now. You'll be putting money in, and you may be spending more, especially at the beginning, than you are actually taking out. So you put in another $10,000, and this will go to $20,000. There'll be another line item there. You click on this, it'll take you right to that one section, and it'll show each one of those deposits that you've made into that equity account. And you might end up with $30,000 or $40,000 in there before you start making any income. It just depends on how long it takes to get set up. But this will track your investment, which is very important, because when you look at the time to pay taxes at the end of the year, what you do is you go back into these reports here, and then you look at the profit and loss statement, and this is what your accountant will use to decide if you've made any money or not. And this could be absolutely in the red, because it'll be drawing cash to pay the bills from your deposits rather than from the income that comes in. And your CPA can go in. All you have to do is go up here and go to business settings here, and then right over here where it says users, you don't have to remember any of this. You can watch it again. Then what you want to do is you put in your admin, and then I always give the accountant admin rights, which means they can get in and fix things if I've made any mistakes. And then the accountant can just take this at the end of the year. It's so much easier. You don't need piles of paper anywhere. You can upload receipts if you want to, but it makes tax time extremely easy. So this whole system, as I said, starts out, again, just to summarize, with the chart of accounts here. And before you set up the chart of accounts, have your list of accounts with you. And you can set up the ones that are important to you right now. You can change it later on, and just take a look at the expenses. That's going to be the one you're going to work the most. If there's already something in here, go ahead and use it, of one that's in here already. Unfortunately, you can't take it out. There are some protections in here to meet the IRS standards. So basically, just change the name if it doesn't meet your expectations, and don't use it if you don't need to use it. It'll just be blank. There won't be anything that'll show up on your report. The only lines that show up on your reports is if there's anything in those lines. So if, for example, you have never put anything into the software, there won't be any money in the software. And that's pretty much it. There isn't a whole lot more to this. You'll get very familiar with it over a period of time. You'll be working with the income and expenses. Almost every time you open it up, you're going to be going to transactions. That's the first place you're going to go. You're going to go to your accounting system in your bank, and you're going to upload, and then you're going to download it into here, and you're going to go through, and you're going to flag, unauthorized income. What is this? Well, look, we have a line item in here we never used. I was going to use it, and we didn't use it. So I'm going to delete it, which is fine. And then when it comes to things like depreciation that you might take on a truck or building, for example, you can go through the accounting system and you can add a transaction. And before you start adding journal entries in here, I think you should talk to your CPA. CPA can do the journal entries for you, so you can make this very simple on yourself. Well, thank you for coming to RetireCoast. I hope I've explained the need for the accuracy in the transactions based on the chart of accounts that are already pre-set up for you, so it makes it easier for you to do your accounting. Because you can't have a budget unless you can, go after it and compare it to your actual results. So these are the results in this accounting system, and the budget is where it all starts. Well, thank you for coming by, and I hope that you look at our blog site, which is RetireCoast.com, and that you listen to our podcast, which is also RetireCoast, and we enjoyed having you. Thank you.